Fluid coding and AI. Claude Opus 4.7 is not interesting just because it is a newer model. It is interesting if it can keep a coding agent on track through messy, multi-step work after a very public Claude Code quality scare. The question is simple: does this upgrade make agent work more dependable or just more expensive? This review is not going to treat a launch chart as a verdict. Anthropic says Opus 4.7 improves advanced software engineering, long-running task consistency, instruction following, output verification, and memory-heavy workflows. Those claims matter. But for developers, the real metric is whether the agent finishes accepted work with fewer interventions, fewer loops, and fewer hidden regressions. So the lens here is practical: coding tasks, migration risk, cost behavior, and trust in the full tool loop. Anthropic announced Claude Opus 4.7 on April 16, 2026, and describes it as generally available across Claude products, the Claude API, Amazon Bedrock, Google Cloud Vertex AI, and Microsoft Foundry. The first-party API model ID is Claude Opus 4.7. Anthropic lists it as its most capable generally available Claude model for complex reasoning and agentic coding, with 1 million tokens of context and up to 128,000 tokens of synchronous output. For coding agents, the headline is not just bigger context. Opus 4.7 is positioned for handoff work, multi-file refactors, bug hunts, tool-heavy investigations, and tasks where the model has to verify its own result before stopping. Anthropic also says the model is more literal about instructions. That can be a strength when your harness is precise. It can also expose sloppy prompts, stale project rules, and tests that do not actually measure the behavior you care about. Opus 4.7 adds an extra high effort level called xhigh between high and max. Anthropic recommends starting with high or xhigh for coding and agentic use cases, and Claude Code defaults Opus 4.7 to xhigh. That means effort level is part of the product, not a footnote. Higher effort can improve hard task follow-through, but it can also raise latency and token usage. A fair review has to compare quality per completed task, not just the first answer. Upgrading from Opus 4.6 to 4.7 is not just changing a model string. The migration guide says manual extended thinking budgets are removed. Developers should switch to adaptive thinking and control depth through output effort. Non-default temperature, top P, and top K return 400 errors. Thinking content is also omitted by default unless summarized thinking display is enabled. If your app exposes reasoning progress, sampling knobs, or old thinking budgets, this upgrade can break assumptions. Anthropic says Opus 4.7 keeps the same list price as Opus 4.6, $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. But same list price does not guarantee the same bill. Anthropic warns that the updated tokenizer can make the same text roughly 1.0 to 1.35 times as many tokens, depending on content. Higher effort, longer reasoning, richer images, and retries can change the real cost per accepted change. Opus 4.7 also improves the shape of visual and memory-heavy work. It supports high-resolution images up to 2,576 pixels on the long edge, with coordinates returned one-to-one with image pixels. That matters for UI debugging, screenshot analysis, dense diagrams, and computer use workflows. The 1 million token context window matters too, but large context is not architecture. Agents still need retrieval, compaction, memory hygiene, permissions, and tests that catch mistakes. The uncomfortable context is Claude Code. Anthropic's April 23 postmortem says recent quality complaints came from product layer changes, not API model degradation. The postmortem names 3 issues: a default effort reduction, a reasoning history clearing bug after idle sessions, and a verbosity prompt that hurt coding quality. Anthropic says all 3 were resolved by April 20 in version 2.1.116. The lesson is bigger than Claude Code. Agent quality lives in defaults, cache behavior, memory, prompts, and rollout discipline. Anthropic reports stronger Opus 4.7 results than Opus 4.6 across a range of evaluations, including early access coding and workflow reports. Those are useful signals, but many are customer or internal results, not independent proof for every team. There is also a timing caveat. Anthropic called Opus 4.7 state-of-the-art on GDP Val AA at launch, while artificial analysis later listed GPT 5.5 above Opus 4.7 on that leaderboard as of May 13, 2026. Benchmarks move. Your workload still decides. The first-party benchmark file in this workspace is not an Opus 4.7 result. It is an OpenRouter Anthropic Claude Opus 4.6 run, inferred from the file name, so it should only be used as a baseline. That run scored 80.34% overall and was strongest on coding, with 1,720 out of 2,100 coding points. But non-coding categories were much weaker, including planning operations, source research, safety policy, and quantitative reasoning. That pattern argues for targeted agent tests, not a single headline score. A serious Opus 4.7 coding agent review should use at least 3 task shapes. First, a small bug fix where the expected behavior is crisp. Second, a multi-file refactor where regressions are easy to introduce. Third, an ambiguous investigation that forces the agent to inspect evidence, run tools, and decide when it has enough confidence. Track cost per accepted change, test pass rate, human interventions, tool errors, time to validated completion, and rollback rate. Run xhigh and xhigh separately. My practical verdict is this: Opus 4.7 looks like Anthropic's most serious general availability model for coding agents, especially for long-running, tool-heavy work. The useful upgrade is not 1 million contexts by itself. It is better follow-through, stronger instruction fidelity, adaptive thinking, and a default effort profile aimed at agentic coding. But teams should migrate deliberately, remove old thinking budgets and sampling overrides, watch tokenizer-driven cost changes, separate API behavior from Claude Code behavior, and judge the model by completed, tested work. If you are testing Opus 4.7 in real coding agent workflows, measure the boring things: accepted changes, passing tests, tool errors, retries, and total cost. That is where the model earns trust. Like the video if this helped, and subscribe to Fluid Coding and AI for more practical AI engineering reviews.